Who's the best Openside flanker in the world? Well, that's what I'm going to count down. Got 10 to 1. The top 10 players. There are some amazing players not even making this list. Who is the Super 7? Or if you're from South Africa, the Super 6. Or if you're from Argentina and France, it could be 6 or 7 because they play left and right, not open and blind. But Openside flanker to me, it's Richie McCaw. It's David Pocock, Neil Back. It's the guy who speeds up your own ball, slows down the opposition at the breakdown, the guy who's a link man and has such a big engine that they're always on the shoulder of someone when they make a break and in support. Really, really tough position to play because now, as well as being a breakdown specialist and a link man, you have to be a great ball carrier and have a huge defensive work rate too. And I'll tell you what, coming up with this list was really hard. I've left some really, really good players outside of the top 10. A top 10 which starts with Rory Darge. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below, by the way, and help me spread the word by giving the video a thumbs up. So Rory Darge, 24 years of age, really establishing himself for Scotland now. Massive year for Glasgow, winning the URC this year. He's a co-captain with Scotland, and he feels like their leader moving forward. He's got an aura about him as Rory Darge, and he could play himself onto a British and Irish Lions tour if he keeps on going. Number 9, Fraser McReight. Talk about impact. 20 caps to his name for Australia now, and he's the best flanker they've had since David Pocock that I mentioned, or Michael Hooper. And along with Rob Valentini, they've got 2 players that they can kind of build a team around. Fraser McReight is the future of this Aussie team, 25 years of age. If he continues, he's one of those players I look at and I think he could be number 1 on this list. He is just a very, very natural talent. Number 9 at the moment. I've got no hesitation putting Sam Cane on this list. He's down a couple of places from 6 to 8. He's not played for the All Blacks this year, but this is the perfect time to remind you that I'm not just picking a list of who's played best in the games that just happened. This top 10 list is, taking into account what's happened this year, but also taking into account what's happened in years gone by and trying to mesh that all together with a bit of my own personal feeling on the matter as well. And that's where yours comes in the comments. But Sam Cane's got a lot of credit in the bank. Well, he's got 95 caps for New Zealand in the bank. You do not get 95 caps for the ABs unless you are an exceptional player. It will be very interesting to see how and if Scott Robertson uses him, because potentially he doesn't get a look in. I don't think Scott Robertson's the kind of guy that's going to be sentimental. He wants to win test matches. And if he thinks Sam Cane's the best man to do that, he'll pick Sam Cane. If not, well, Sam Cane will be dropping out this list and maybe into obscurity as well. But I think he's still got something to offer. Kolisi, another declining, waning force on the World Rugby stage? Maybe. Well, he's down, and he's down from number 3 as well, so that's quite a drop from the last time I did it. As a human, as a leader, as a rugby player, Kolisi is a very, very special example. He doesn't quite have the same influence on matches that he once did, but then he's never really totally been that kind of guy, has he? He's never going to be a player that wins World Player of the Year, but he is going to be a player that will be part of World Cup winning teams and will be talked about in the most glowing terms by his teammates and coaches and stuff, because I think Kolisi's magic is that his very presence brings out more in everybody else, and in that sense he's worth his weight in gold. But I suppose if you're judging purely as a rugby player, he hasn't been at the levels he's been before. Although I will say he was great in that first test against Ireland, wasn't he? And then got taken off. And I remember after about 45 minutes, I was in the ground at Loftus Versfeld and I was thinking, Sia's having an absolute stormer. And I think Rassie Erasmus even said after the game, probably took him off a bit too soon. So maybe if he can recover some of that form, which he hasn't shown at Racing 92 this season, transparent was the word that the owner used. He definitely wasn't that, but he wasn't as good as he could be. But if he can be like he was in that first 45-50 minutes against Ireland, he'll be back up this list. So on to number 6, Tommy Reffell. Arguably the best 7 in the Six Nations. One of the best 7s when he played at the Rugby World Cup. A breakdown freak. This guy's worth 3 turnovers and maybe 3 to 9 points all on his own in a match. And he does it at big moments. I didn't think Tommy Reffell would be as good as he is. And I was completely wrong on him. I thought, what a great player. I watched him play a lot in the Premiership in England. Did not think he would have the kind of influence on games that he has at the highest stage. And one great example of that is Jack Morgan. What a talent he is. Not on this top 10, by the way, because of injuries. He's just not played very much. He will be in the top 10. Jack Morgan is a class act. Tommy Reffell played that well that when Jack Morgan returned during the World Cup, they went, actually, we're going to have to drop someone else because we cannot drop Tommy Reffell from 7. And he's stayed 7 for Wales ever since. He's been brilliant. Into the top 5 then. Again, your thoughts down below. Josh van der Flier, 31 years of age, a lot of rugby left in him. Do you know what? Sometimes he's really, really good. Sometimes when a player is someone that you've seen be brilliant for years, you almost don't notice them being brilliant. So if they're not at quite the same level of absolute superhuman brilliance, then you sort of perceive in your mind that they've had a bit of a bad year. Josh van der Fleer's come under fire a little bit like that. He's been brilliant relative to most Openside flankers. He's maybe not quite at the level of the player that won him World Player of the Year, but that doesn't matter. He's still outstanding. He's still worth number 5 to me. Sam Underhill. He's up. I mean, at the moment, I would say, and is this an exaggeration? I think he's in pole position to get the 7 jersey for the British and Irish Lions next summer, the way he is playing. He has had a massive year. I was in the stadium in Paris for the 3rd-4th playoff when Sam Underhill made his first start of the Rugby World Cup. And he was absolutely immense. I think he was man of the match that night. And he has started and played every minute, pretty much, I think, for England in the number 7 jersey since. Which says a lot because, I mean, I just think, I'll tell you what I think of when I think of Sam Underhill. I think if we'd have had Sam Underhill, England that is, had Sam Underhill on the bench for the World Cup semi-final, rather than Billy Vunipola for the semi-final, who added nothing and actually cost England a little bit, I think England would have been in a World Cup final. That's how good this guy is. He's been amazing. Francois Cros is a machine. Fact. For club, Toulouse, where he's won everything again, for country. Much like Sam Underhill, this is a guy who was waiting in the wings for an opportunity. When this guy got his opportunity, he's now put himself in a position where I'd say he's undroppable for France. He has got one of the biggest engines in world rugby, smashes everything defensively, first to the breakdown so many times, on the shoulder as a support runner. He is just immense. And here's a stat for you. France have never, ever lost a game that Francois Cros has started and played the whole match of. Correlation doesn't necessarily equal causation, but I reckon he's that good. Maybe it does. Number 2, Marcos Kremer. So nearly put him number 1. Absolute weapon of a man. 6'5", 120 kilos, rapid, smashes people, brilliant at the breakdown, great line out forward. He is everything. And the thing is with Argentina, they don't have Openside flanker, blindside flanker. They probably have, well, him and Matera probably are both blindside flankers, but I'm not going to put them both in the same list, particularly as I've got Juan Martin Gonzalez on my blindside list as well. So Marcos Kremer, absolutely immense. He wears the 7 jersey for Clermont. He wears it for Argentina as well. And he is absolutely one of the best in the world. I've got him just behind my number 1, Levani Botia. He's not played since the Rugby World Cup and he's 35 years of age. So I am definitely taking into account his whole body of work on this one. His whole body of work, by the way, started with him being a centre and then moving to the back row and playing a bit at centre and a bit at open-side flanker for a while. Now he's pretty much exclusively an open-side flanker, and he is one of the most devastating balls of muscle you'll ever find on a rugby pitch. His breakdown work is just unrivaled in world rugby. He's an absolute menace, and like I say, a ball of muscle that is just so violent as a ball carrier that he is so much fun to watch. I hope we haven't seen the last of Levani Botia playing for Fiji. If it is, then he's going to finish his time playing international rugby in the number 1 spot on my player power ranking, which looks like that for the open side flanker position. There's your top 10. And like I say, just think about the players that aren't there. I mentioned Jack Morgan. No Michele Lamaro no Tom Curry, no Dalton Papali'i, no Jack Willis. Obviously, he's not eligible for England anymore. But there's 5 brilliant open-side flankers. And there are others as well. This list is stacked. Your thoughts? And I'll see you on the next one.